Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our second in our virtual training series for the Big Payback. Today, we're going to be focusing on general marketing, the ins and outs of how to have a strong and successful campaign for the Big Payback 2021, which is, of course, coming up on May 5th. It'll start at 6 p.m. and last for 24 hours until 6 p.m. on May 6th. Today, I'm joined by Kelly Walberg, who is the VP of Communications at the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, and also by Emma Chinn, who works for Nashville International Center for Empowerment. They were a nonprofit that participated in the Big Payback last year and had some really fun campaign elements and a fun virtual event. So we're going to be talking with Emma about how her team pulled that off and found success in the Big Payback 2020. And if you don't know me, I'm Kathryn Bennett. Obviously, I'm the givingmatters.com manager of the Community Foundation, and I also oversee elements like registration and trainings for the Big Payback. So thank you guys again for all being here. Emma, would you start by telling us a little bit more about your organization and your role there?
Sure. So NICE is a refugee and immigrant services nonprofit. And I am the Associate Director of Development at NICE. We've been working in Middle Tennessee for over 15 years now. The organization was originally founded by a group of refugees who just noticed disparities in their community and started teaching English classes like literally out of our CEO's living room. And today we have 6 different programs. We have adult education, youth education, refugee resettlement, immigration services, health, and employment. So yeah, that's what we do in Nashville, and we're located off Nolensville Pike in South Nashville.
That's a lot. And can you tell us a little bit more about like the makeup of your staff? Who's working on fundraising campaigns like the Big Payback?
Sure. So our staff is actually majority refugees and immigrants. That's like part of our mission is to represent the communities that we serve. And in our development department, it is myself and then the chief development and education officer. And so that's pretty much it for development. We're like a 2-person full-time staff. And then we also rely pretty heavily on our team of interns. So we have a communications intern, a grant intern, and an event planning intern. And we really rely a lot on the communications part-time intern because neither of us are specifically trained in marketing. We are kind of more like jack of all trades development people, which I'm sure a lot of other nonprofits have. So yeah, that's how our department's made up.
I have a question about that. Is how long are do your interns stick around for?
Yeah,
you know that it's hard a lot of times with interns. You know, they bring such valuable efforts to the work, but you know, sometimes they're only there for 3 months or 6 months, and then you have to circle back and retrain about what the mission is and what the role of the internship is. I'm just curious how long they stick around.
Yeah, so we do it by semester basis. So we have fall, spring, and summer interns, and we have a pretty like standard training for them, especially for the communications position. Like we have a communication strategy that they're given and that they're supposed to follow, and that's really helped with keeping things you know, like passing on that institutional knowledge has been really important.
It is important.
Mm-hmm.
That's really impressive that you guys were able to pull off the campaign that you did in 2020 with, you know, a couple of staff members and some interns. Because your campaign, it had several different working parts. There were lots of components, and it was really creative. And we're going to dive into that here in a bit. But could you walk us through, you know, think back to the beginning of 2020, you guys are registering for the Big Payback. You're coming up with your campaign and the concept of what you want to do. Can you walk us through what those conversations looked like?
Sure. I guess like the main thing that pops in my mind from like the beginning of the process was going to y'all's big event. It was in like a very big conference center. There are so many people there, which is like hard to imagine right now. But I was just so inspired, like hearing from the other nonprofits about the work that they had done in the Big Payback. I was involved in the Big Payback in 2019, but I really didn't have that kind of background knowledge about how everything worked. So it was really exciting to go to that and learn about like in-person events that people were having and like campaigns that people were doing with different themes and all of this. So after that, I was super amped up and I wanted us to have an in-person event, which of course couldn't happen because, in March, everything kind of broke down and suddenly we're all working from home, like everything's changed. And kind of another aspect that played into this, we had been asked as an organization to have a representative go on a radio show. And for that event, we had created a playlist of songs, like all of our staff's favorite songs from their home country. And the staff had gotten like super excited about that. Like everyone had sent in a song. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like sometimes it's hard to get staff to get engaged in like communications campaigns. So it was really exciting, but then the radio station canceled it. So I was like, okay, I have all these amazing songs and like the stories of why our staff loves them and about their countries. Why don't we like make this into our Big Payback campaign? So our campaign to get people excited for the Big Payback was basically posting graphics that we made about each song in the country that it was from and about our staff members. So yeah, and people, I guess, just were really excited by it. I was excited by it, like listening to the playlist, because it's all these artists that I would never have gotten to hear of before. And it really highlighted something that I think is special about NICE, which is like the diversity of our team and our community that we serve.
I loved that part of your campaign so much, the playlist, for so many reasons. One, I mean, that's an excellent pivot. I didn't know the background there about having, it was originally for a radio show. And I love that you were still able to use that, because that really is such a fantastic way to highlight something that's special about your organization and something that makes you guys stand out. But secondly, back in the spring, we were all so eager for like something to do, for something exciting. I think we all blew through Netflix within the first month of being at home. And so I think that was a really great way to engage with your support base too, giving them, something to do and something to get excited about and still feel connected to you is really neat. And kind of the third thing that stands out to me about that was, I think y'all fit into that bucket of organizations where you might have sensitive content with those that you serve that you wouldn't want to then turn into a marketing campaign and put all over Facebook. Those are personal stories. You're working with, the refugee community. And that's, something that you have to be aware of. And I know we have a lot of organizations participating that have that same issue.
Right.
And so through that campaign, you were able to harness the excitement and the passion of your staff and help people get excited about the work that you do.
Yeah. And I mean, even on top of that issue, like it's been a challenge to get stories from our clients right now, because I don't want to show up as a communications person with a camera in hand when people are trying to keep distance and you're trying to keep groups small. So I think that's something that we've had to get really creative with this year.
One of the points that I wanted to bring up about the content being created for the radio promotion is something that we have tried in the past to share with organizations, that when they're developing their campaigns and what the marketing and what the story is going to be around fundraising for the Big Payback, to not just be simply thinking about the Big Payback, to be thinking about how that campaign can also extend into the 364 other days of the year. And so then it takes that thought of, oh, this is going to take so much work just for 24 hours of giving, into, oh, let's look at it more in a global way, that we will also be able to utilize this in the throughout the rest of the year, plug it in during summertime, plug it in, whatever it might be. And, you kind of came to that on the reverse end of it. You had a campaign plan for something else, and then were able to utilize it for Big Payback. I think that it's a really important idea and message to drive to other participants to know that it's not just about developing it for this one day. It may be the kickoff. Kathryn, do you remember which organization it was that used their campaign to kick off their 25 years, or it was a bit 30 years of being?
Are you talking about Room in the Inn?
I believe,
maybe.
yes.
I know a few years ago they launched a huge kind of like year-long campaign.
Cool.
Like love your neighbor, y'all. It was a really cute phrase, and they had yard signs, and they used the Big Payback as like the day to launch that.
Cool.
So that's very cool. For those who might be wondering, okay, how do I do something like that? Like a playlist is a really neat idea. Could you give us a little insight into how you guys like logistically, hosted that and distributed it?
Sure. So honestly, we posted everything on social media. Like we posted images and then included links to the songs on YouTube. And we could pretty much find all of them on YouTube. And a lot of them had like really fun music videos and stuff, which is also cool. And then you can still find the playlist on our Instagram because we saved it in like one of our featured stories. So you can click through it and find all the songs. It's also on Spotify. So we made it into a Spotify playlist too.
Very cool. And those are all free resources, right? Maybe not Spotify.
Yeah, there's I don't know if you can make playlists with the free version of Spotify, but our intern made it into a playlist. So yeah.
That's very cool. I love how accessible that is, and how it can, like to Kelly's point, it can live on, even now when folks are watching this training, they can go check it out later.
Yeah.
Speaking of social media, this is I'm throwing this question at you.
Okay.
What channels, social media wise, have you found the most success for, or do you feel like it's important to utilize all of them?
Yeah, so for us, we have the biggest following on Facebook. And our Facebook following is like partially clients and partially, like donors or volunteers. We have like all of those groups on there. And then our second largest is Instagram. And I find it to be less of our clients following us on Instagram. And we use like pretty much the same strategy for Facebook and Instagram because it's more of a similar platform. But with Twitter, we kind of struggle. And we're trying to do better on it, but that's definitely the one that we have the least engagement on. We also have a YouTube account, which is really client facing for our adult education students, but we're trying to bring that in more as well.
Do you take advantage of the use of hashtags?
We do, probably not as consistently as we should, but I would definitely recommend it. Like hashtag Big Payback 2021, like definitely do it. Like you can see the results that it has. It just takes like a few extra minutes to like put them in.
Right. One of the benefits that we've seen, and this is more based on Instagram. The first couple years, I've been working on the Big Payback since its birth in 2014. And the first couple years, we really pushed hard on Facebook and Twitter, and that was the sign of the times. It was Facebook and Twitter, and we hosted contests on both. And then Instagram started to grow, and those first couple years, organizations this is when we went midnight to midnight rather than 6 to 6, and they were hosting virtual pajama parties. It's like seems so normal now to say the word virtual something, but in 2014, virtual pajama party was like, whoa, this is really cool that the organizations are connecting even late night and trying to go for these prizes. And but the hashtag Big Payback has been really great, because on the bigpayback.org, for anybody who hasn't really navigated the system, there's a page on there that is specifically hashtag Big Payback, and it filters in anybody's posts that are using that hashtag, so you could really see what individuals are doing leading up to the day of and that day of. And what we've noticed since we have really pushed forward on Instagram, and there will be a specific Instagram training, is being able to identify hashtags alongside the one that you want to choose that will also other people are following, because then that could put you in front of an audience that you may have never gotten into, because that audience is also tied into that particular hashtag for some reason or other. So it's really a great way, specifically on Instagram, to attract people that you may have no idea who they are. They might not even be in the Middle Tennessee area, but they really connect with the message that you're putting out there during that fundraising period.
Yeah, no, I will definitely try to come to that training, because I want to learn how to do hashtags better. Because yeah, we're really big on Instagram, and that might be my bias as like a younger person. I just am more familiar with Instagram than Facebook even. And it's really strange, like people even younger than me, like people in college and high school right now, don't have Facebook at all. So definitely good to like focus on the Instagram and TikTok, which I don't even use, but yeah.
And I think that's my K9 coworker. He's really excited about Instagram and the Big Payback too. But I think that tools like Instagram and like like creating a Spotify playlist or YouTube playlist, like all of those things open up the door for people to engage with your content and to be ambassadors for your content. I think in a way that maybe Facebook or Twitter doesn't, because you might like quickly share it and move on, but there's not as much, like, I don't know, interaction, I think, in the same way that exists on those apps. It's just kind of a different environment. So something I noticed, you guys were you were winners of one of our Safer at Home virtual event prizes that we had last year. That was a new prize for 2020. It was a pivot from a previous prize to adapt to the times. And in your application, you guys said that you had set a goal of raising $2,000 during the Big Payback, but you ended up raising over $5,000. So that's super exciting. And I just wanted to know if there was anything that you would really like attribute that success to.
I think one of the things was really just like getting our like really like mainstay supporters and staff to share out the content that we were posting. That was really important, and that was something that hadn't really happened for our past campaigns. I would also say just like planning in advance, and then also just like a lot of it was probably due to the fact that we've been really like working on individual giving for like the year leading up to 2020. So we probably just didn't know what to expect, and we're like really pleasantly surprised that all the work that we had been putting in paid off in this like big payback. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. Were there any tools that you use like in the toolkit or in the software that helped with that maybe we could steer other participants towards?
Not that I can think of right now. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I totally put you on the spot there.
Okay.
I will use this opportunity though to plug that we do have a toolkit available on the bigpayback.org. And one item there that I think is really helpful is a preparation calendar. And so if you're listening to this and you're hearing like, I don't know how to like plan out social media stuff and this feels intimidating, that could be a good way to help maybe make, building a campaign like this feel a little more manageable. So check that out, thebigpayback.org/toolkits.
The toolkit's also helpful. It has so many different things that folks can plug in, especially if you're all volunteer based or a small staff. But We provide social media canned messaging, as we like to call it, where it makes it easy to simply copy and paste and plug it into one of your social accounts. That also could be juice to spark those creative insights in what you might want to be messaging out there. I love, Emma, that you also said that getting your staff and your stakeholders contributed to the success of the campaign. We have on the toolkit page one that's how to engage your board, how to engage volunteers. There's lots of different elements, including digital asset elements, that if you are trying to put together specific graphics, and that drives us back to the hashtag Big Payback page, is trying to get those creative juices flowing to figure out, well, what's the campaign going to look like? Well, if you go to that page on the website, you'll be able to see all the different ways that organizations last year either utilized the graphics that we gave them, but really made them their own and really helped to make something unique and speak loudly to the folks that were paying attention during that day.
And I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Okay.
Were there any lessons learned from the Big Payback 2020 that you guys are implementing, now as you plan for the Big Payback 2021?
I think probably plan ahead and don't be afraid to be creative. I think when I was like starting doing this like Big Payback playlist idea, I was kind of like doubting myself in the back of my mind, like this is kind of out there, like I don't know if people will really be interested in this, but they are. Like people like to see creative content. They don't just want to see the same fundraising pitch every time. So yeah, we're planning for another creative campaign that I'm really excited about. So yeah.
I'm excited to see it. That's fun. But I'm glad you mentioned that because, especially during the Big Payback, we're talking about almost 1,000 organizations in the same 24-hour period asking a very similar donor base for donations. And so how do you create content that makes your organization stand out, that makes, your followers want to engage with you and click through the link and donate to you. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind as you're, thinking through your campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And you had mentioned that you guys were kind of new, when you were going into the Big Payback 2020, you were new to soliciting individual, donors, and that, that was something that was new for your organization. And that played a big part, I think, in the success of your campaign. And I think that is relatable for a lot of organizations. Maybe they're smaller, they're new, they're just starting out. Do you have any advice for folks that might be in that same boat or might be intimidated by participating in the Big Payback?
Yeah, so I will say that I was definitely intimidated going in just because I'm a younger person. I am new to fundraising. I've only been working in fundraising for 2 years. But I would just say some of like the best advice that I've learned is the best way to get a donation is to ask for it. Like just put yourself out there, put your organization out there. Like we all know that the causes we're working for are worth it. And don't be afraid to tell that to the world and do it in a fun, creative way. I like the Big Payback. I think it's really fun. So it's a great opportunity to give yourself a larger platform. So definitely just take advantage of it and try not to let the intimidation get the better of you.
I think that's really good advice. And another thing that I would add to it is there are so many different means of communication to reach your advocates and your donors. So if it feels too overwhelming to have social media and email and a virtual event, really hone in on what you think that the capacity is for the organization so you could make it the best that you can make it and feel like you're not spreading yourself too thin, but also that the content that's being put out there is quality and engaging. And, if you're an organization that wants to equate fun, make sure you're delivering that in your message. If you are an organization that wants to drive home the impact of a particular program that you're working on, focus on that one program. And beyond the email and the socials and the press releases and everything that can encompass it, also make sure that your Big Payback profile is representing what it is that you're trying to raise gifts for during that particular day. So it's not just, if it is for a particular program, you don't simply just have your mission statement in there, because it's not going to connect with the person that lands on your profile that wants to make a gift.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because sometimes, we all have so many things on our plate, especially like in the spring. It's so crazy for nonprofits. But that page is customizable. And I think it's important because that is where your donors are landing before they click that donate button. And you have the ability to add multimedia. You have the ability to add more than just your mission statement. You can give a brief overview of your campaign. And I think another tool that can kind of be used to help with that storytelling and can be like an additional component of your marketing strategy is utilizing the different donation levels. You can customize those. So, maybe we have some that will default. I think it starts with $10 and $25, $50, $100. But if, say, $13 buys something really specific for, the people that you serve or something for your program, you can put that in there. And then somebody who might be coming to make a $10 donation might actually end up giving $13.
Right.
And that adds up quite a bit. So, there are a lot of different tools that are available to you through the Big Payback, and they are all free to use. I think that is like a huge component of this is you can have fun and you can try new things and they don't come at a cost to you. So poke around the website and see what's there, and see what can help take your campaign to the next level. Emma, is there any other wisdom that you would like to impart on our viewers before we sign off?
No, I'll just say good luck to everyone and thank you all for the work that you do.
Well, thank you for the work that you do.
Thanks.
And thank you for carving out time today to help inspire others and share.
Thank you all for asking us. This has been great.
Wonderful.
Kelly, do you have any final wisdom?
Just enjoy yourselves. The Big Payback is fun. That's what it comes down to. It's exciting. There's prizes. Our team really enjoys going out there and coming up and creating elements that try to help make it easier for you. The nonprofits in our area are integral to keeping Middle Tennessee thriving. This is supposed to be a day that's going to help organizations continue that work. And it is just one day out of the year, but hopefully it is not only going to raise funds for the organization, but also create awareness about the work you're doing so they can continue to support you the rest of the year.
I love it. Yes. Well, thank you guys so much. And if you have questions, if you're watching this, feel free to shoot us an email at thebigpayback@cfmt.org. And someone from our team will be happy to connect with you. Thanks so much.